I post a lot of different content on my channel. I post music videos, animation, and short films. But the hardest project that I have ever made, and yes, it was even harder than Movie of Trey. This film was my first feature film I ever made, and it was a film called Dollar Per Day. It took years of finding different actors, finding equipment, finding locations. It was worth it in the end. But in this video, I'm going to go into the struggles and how Dollar Per Day came to be as a film. I'm also going to go into the breakdown of the film and talk about it step by step. Keep in mind, on the breakdown chapter, there will be tons of spoilers, so if you want to see the film before you get it spoiled, I would recommend it, and I will put it in the link below. It's also my third most popular video on my channel. But if you think I'm just talking about my feature film to hopefully get more retention on it, you're goddamn right. This is the history of Dollar Per Day. Our story begins in my sophomore year of high school. My parents showed me a movie, and it blew my mind for some reason. The movie was called Good Will Hunting, and not only was it a great movie with a lot of great actors, the reason it inspired me is because I found out the two actors, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, wrote the script together, and I thought, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could make my own film. I mean, they had a lot more budget and resources behind them, but once I saw that film, it kind of inspired me to start filmmaking for some reason. Another thing that inspired the specific Dollar Per Day film was my brother's music. My brother has a YouTube channel with like 30,000 subscribers. I remember listening to his music and feeling like it kind of told a story. My brother posts a lot of instrumental covers, and you can check out his channel right here. So listening to his music going on walks, I would think, this kind of tells a cool story in my head. That is when I decided to write the screenplay. I soon became a senior in high school. I had a screenplay, and that was Dollar Per Day. There was this senior project that all the seniors had to do. The senior project we were doing was pretty much us having to find careers we were interested in the future and shadowing or interning at those careers. My career was obviously filmmaking, and I met this guy named Robert who was a professional filmmaker, and I shadowed under him to learn about filmmaking more. I also hired a director, which was kind of a dumb idea because I wasn't making that much money. And at the time, I wanted to play the character Caleb. Caleb is one of the main characters in the movie. I was making this movie on my senior year of high school, my graduating year, 2017. Sadly, the film fell apart after trying really hard. If you look on my channel and you see my first video, it's a video called Albert and Steve. And the reason I made that video was because Dollar Per Day fell apart, and I needed something to show for my senior project, so I made a short film so I wouldn't have nothing to show for my senior project. Once I became an adult and I was about 19 years old, I was listening to the same soundtrack that I made for Dollar Per Day that never came to be. I was listening to it and it really inspired me. I was walking on a walk and I thought, I'm gonna try this again. I had a really good friend who was in a lot of my old videos at the time, and he was in the first attempt at Dollar Per Day, and I convinced him to try it with me again. But this time, I was gonna direct it myself and not be in the film, and I was gonna hire other actors and create it, and I was gonna be behind the camera, which I was. It was hard. I had to find a lot of locations, but after about 2 or 3 or 4 months of filming, can't really remember how long it took, I did end up finishing the film. And it was exhausting, but it was worth it. You might be wondering, what is this film about? What makes it so special to you? Well, now I'm going to get into the breakdown on the chapters and what happens in the film. Keep in mind there will be a ton of spoilers, so if you want to watch the film before this part of the video, I would recommend that. We start our film off with Leon, and we don't really know what's going on. I wanted to do a show don't tell. We see this guy getting arrested and Leon, the main character, walking away scared. Some people told me that it was confusing of what happened at the beginning, but that's kind of the point. I wanted it to be like, what's going on here? Why is he scared, and why is this guy getting arrested? I wanted to add some sense of wonder or curiosity of what's going on. So that's the first scene, is this guy gets arrested. Leon walks off in the distance. Later, Leon goes to school at community college and runs into his friend. He runs into his friend Blake. They start hanging out, and then that same guy who got arrested at the beginning of the film comes up to Leon, threatening him. Leon, in this film, is a troubled kid, and in this part of the film, he's pretty directionless. He goes to his friend Caleb's house that he's known for a long time. Leon opens up about what happened to the Trevor character, and this doesn't happen till like 10 minutes into the film regarding the first scene that happened. Basically, Leon stole marijuana from a dispensary or something and hid it in his bully's backpack. The bully gets arrested, and Leon is now guilty, but he got away with it. He also talks about how he got the pot because his dad was really angry and abusive. He needed to get it to calm him down. Then they decide to go bowling to get their minds off the problem. There was this one shot that I made where Leon sees a girl that he thinks is cute or whatever, and I used the focus where you angle the focus on the camera. So Leon's looking at this girl and his friend behind him is blurry. But then I focused it to make his friend less blurry, and he's all like, what? And he's like, oh, you're staring at that girl kind of thing. I don't know, I was really proud of that shot. That was a really in-depth shot, I felt like. Anyways, he sees this girl and she walks away, kind of foreshadowing what's going to happen in the future. Trevor the bully then sees Leon and Blake and Caleb bowling or whatever, and he threatens Leon again. Leon makes an agreement that if he doesn't get the money he owes Trevor for the problem he's in, he will own up to what he did. So now they have to make money. They go back to Caleb's house. Leon starts opening up to Caleb about the whole situation. But there's this really cool scene where they start bonding with each other and start kind of talking about real things. And at the end of the scene, we see Leon smile genuinely for the first time in the film. And I felt like that was pretty powerful. After realizing they're not making enough money to get the money to get Trevor out of the problem he's in, they decide to drop out of school. Leon decides to apply for a job at a coffee shop, and he runs into a girl named Grace. Fun fact, the actress is also one of my exes. Anyways, Leon runs into a girl named Grace and they start talking and flirting with each other pretty much. Grace says, I'll go on a date with you if you write some poetry. I feel like this was her way of challenging Leon. I don't know, I felt like this was a good way to challenge him in the relationship, to help him find out more about himself. And then he goes home and he actually writes some poetry and he's getting really into it. And I think that was pretty powerful, how he was being challenged by this girl he thought was cute. So Leon decides to have a hangout session with Grace, Caleb, and Blake. They were talking and it was really nice. And then Grace says she wanted to meet Leon's family, which is where it gets hard. And he has a hard time opening up to people. Leon isn't the one to always open up, unless it's someone like Caleb who he feels very comfortable with. I feel like opening up to Grace for him was really hard at first. So he didn't talk about his family and how they were mean. He just kind of brushed it off. There's this other scene where Leon's walking alone and then he gets beat up by Trevor and his friend. They find out Trevor's getting more people on his side to get Leon in trouble. So Leon gets overwhelmed and runs away from Caleb's house. I think the reason he did this was because he wanted to do it independently. Throughout the film, Caleb has been helping Leon so much, but I think Leon wanted him to focus more on himself. And I think that was a big message behind Leon's walking away from Caleb. And the next scene is, I feel like, the most powerful scene in the entire film. It's the scene where Leon finally opens up to Grace. He walks into Grace's house and he talks to him and says, "I don't think I've been honest with you," and pretty much opens up about everything he dealt with his parents and his abuse, and they have a nice hug. And I feel like not only was the scene really beautiful, the music added to it perfectly, and that was, yes, my brother's music. This is where the climax happens in the next scene, where Leon is being beat up by Trevor, and Caleb and Blake are looking for him, trying to save him. One of the guys who's beating up Leon decides that he had too much, and he lets him go, and Trevor gets mad. Leon decides to come clean and tell the courthouse what happened and the honest truth about how he hid the marijuana in Trevor's backpack. You might be wondering, how the hell did you get a courthouse for your film? Well, I just asked. I typed in this city's courthouse and I emailed them saying, "Hey, I'm a college student and I'm working on a feature film, and I was wondering if I could use your courthouse for a film in my scene." And they surprisingly said yes, which was crazy. And in that scene, Leon's dad bursts to the courthouse and says that he was the one responsible and pretty much owns up to everything. In the scene, he talks about how there's this watch that was worth a ton of money, but he has to go to jail, and pretty much Leon would sell the watch and bail him out of jail. The second to last scene in the film is Leon walking through Pioneer Park. But there's something I like to think about this film in my own way, and I don't like to say what my film means because anyone can interpret it in their own way. But there's this scene, and it was actually an accident, but I look back and I think that actually makes a lot of sense. Leon's sitting at Pioneer Park with his watch, and if you see him, he's wearing the watch. But when he's walking away from Pioneer Park, you see he's not wearing a watch. That was actually a continuity accident, but I actually look back and think maybe he's letting the memory of his father go, and he's moving on to new adventures. I think that's the whole message behind that scene. So yeah, his dad, I guess, is gonna spend time in prison, but he's moving on and learning that he's not responsible for that, and he's his own person now. The last scene is Caleb's birthday, and they're all hanging out happy. Throughout the film, Caleb always wanted to travel, but he wasn't able to because he was broke or whatever. So now that he has a car, they get to travel, and the last scene is them driving away, and then the credits roll. Now this film was like so hard to make. This film was an emotional roller coaster to make. I don't even talk to pretty much any of the actors anymore, except for one, and that is the antagonist, Fox Stubbs, who played Trevor. Everyone else we faded off, we don't talk to each other anymore. I guess that's kind of how life works. A lot of people were commenting saying they wanted a sequel, and I'm definitely obviously not going to make one or be able to make one. But even if I was able to make one, I don't think I would. I think the film ended perfectly the way it did. Making a sequel would be like making Toy Story 4. It ended perfectly, you don't need to add anything else. I learned so much doing this film. It was exhausting, but it helped me grow as a person. Would I do it again? Maybe, but it was exhausting to make. I could probably do it better now, but it was worth it. And that is my video essay on Dollar Per Day, my own feature film. And stay tuned for more Toons, films, and music, and have a great day.